A very, very tragic day to put another penny in the Nux was always right jar. But realistically, I think today is a day that you could completely and utterly legitimately say every rational person was completely right. After endless rhetoric pushed by the left that Trump is utilizing Nazi tactics, putting Nazi soldiers on the ground, all right? They're arresting illegal immigrants from their poor families that they only just came here to ruin our country, and why aren't we opening our sofas to them to live in our houses? Literal Nazi stuff. After endless propaganda being pushed, and multiple already attempted assassinations of ICE agents, of police officers, and of law enforcement. Unfortunately, this assassination was not only an attempt, but it was unfortunately a success. So we're going to look at what happened on the ground. We're going to look at the media machine that pushed this reality into existence. And we're going to look at the leftists celebrating the murder of 2 National Guard soldiers with multiple more still injured, where we don't know their conditions right now. This is asymmetric warfare. This really isn't right versus left nearly as much as it's good versus evil. The good guys believe in the commandment, thou shalt not murder. The bad guys don't. Currently, Hasan Piker is crashing out, saying, hey, we don't even know if the murderer was a leftist. Well, yeah, because maybe he was a radical Muslim. You never know. Between the two, flip a coin, and you end up on one of those. It's kind of weird how that keeps happening. There is information on that, but let's dive in. We got to cover this in a way that I wish more people would. So, breaking update. Multiple National Guard soldiers have been shot near the White House. At least 3 casualties reported. Shooter is reportedly still on the loose. They did catch him. I will show you. Law enforcement is racing from all throughout the city. Pray for these troops. Dude, what a nightmare. So yeah, so this is Washington, D.C. right now, completely and utterly locked down. This is a genuine terrorist attack, and a lot of people are trying to sugarcoat it. There's nothing to sugarcoat. This is a terrorist attack. This is an ideologically influenced assassination of 2 of our soldiers, and it's a nightmare. It's an actual nightmare, and it's going to get worse, unfortunately. So this is where we're at. This is the streets of Washington, man. Look at this. 2 National Guard members shot near the White House. Police still searching for the shooter. What a nightmare. Like, dude, this isn't some country in the Middle East, okay? This isn't England, all right? This is Washington. That's insane. And of course, we all saw this coming, unfortunately. The tragedy is, when you have the media machine pushing endless propaganda that these are Nazi Gestapo soldiers that are just here to terrorize Americans and rip the city apart, and illegal orders being pushed constantly, so you have to fight back against the fascist regime. Are you really that surprised that some retard's gonna fight back? Dude. What a nightmare. What an actual nightmare. Breaking, Secret Service has been seen running directly into danger to help render aid to the downed National Guard troops near the White House. Actual heroes as well. You know, hard times create strong men. And that's really what we're watching. Look at this. Look at that. They're trying their best. They run up. They administer as much aid as they can. We still don't know the actual... it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's actually heartbreaking. Look at the bus stop with all the glass shattered, presumably from the shots. We know the 2 of the National Guard that were hit already succumbed to their injuries. Hopefully the rest make it. I pray for them and their families. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. Dude, it's crazy. I mean, I was just in Israel for a part of the war over there, for a chunk of that, and like, oh my God, like it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. You like, because of some ideological bullshit, you feel the need to go murder random people. Dude, I already saw liberals saying that, oh, this is actually, well, it's not killing civilians, so technically they're valid targets. What do you mean valid targets? They're the officers of your country. I can't even fathom what goes through these people's minds. right? And just a few days ago, 6 Democrats claimed President Trump was issuing unlawful orders to the military and the troops must resist. We're going to look at that in just a second because you have to understand how he got here. So Donald Trump decided to drop this post. The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price. Death penalty. Absolutely death penalty. No shadow of a doubt, this is an act of terror. Public death penalty. God bless our National Guard and all the military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you, which is great. But it's not bringing these people back to life. We need to be incredibly heavy-handed on this. I am so tired of living in a country where the criminals end up getting literally glazed by the activist judges that are like, well, actually, this person was just mentally ill, so we should put him back on the street to kill a couple more people until we actually decide to do something about it. Well, we're not actually going to decide to do something about it, but if it gets caught on camera and it becomes like a public story, then maybe we'll do something about it. Ironically, a lot of this violence really seems to come from the political party that really doesn't value human life or something. Look, I'm not saying that 1 million abortions a year is indicative of any form of callousness. I'm not saying anything like that per se, but I am saying that all the violence comes from the same side. Remember they were trying to push the both sides narrative for the last 6 months? Well, it's actually violence on both sides. There's violence on both sides, guys. Literally both sides. Trump deports illegal aliens. We kill people that we disagree with. Both sides. And that's the devil's playground that we're on right now. So the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, announced that President Trump ordered to deploy another 500 National Guardsmen to Washington, D.C.
Myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting...
I mean, I think this is just upfront act of terror, and I think it should be treated as such.
The best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House.
Insane.
It will not stand.
Remember, this is after 2 very public attempted assassinations on the President of the United States. Charlie Kirk getting killed. Shots fired at ICE agents everywhere from Texas to Florida. It's insane. It's insane that this is happening. And it's insane how one-sided it is. It really is. It's absolutely diabolical. Like, if Trump doesn't really clean up house over the next 3 years, we are going to actually be turning into like a communist fascist state. Like, if people don't realize how bad it's going to be if Trump doesn't actually buckle down and start arresting these guys. And I don't just mean the random freak that is manipulated by the media. I mean the instigators. You incite violence, you go to jail. You're a mayor that's egging on obstruction of justice, fighting against law enforcement, jail. I don't care who you are. Remember when they were screaming how no one's above the law, and then they tried to do every possible amount of lawfare to lock Trump up forever? And now all these guys are like, whoa. Trump is targeting congressmen that happen to be terrorists. That's crazy.
And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army, to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C.
I mean, it's good, but I don't think it's enough, man. I think we need to start actually going after high-profile people. And until that happens, I feel like people are just going to keep feeling invincible. It's not enough that you kill a retard terrorist in a gunfight after they kill 2 of the best of America. No, it's not actually enough at all. Nothing will ever be enough because nothing is going to bring these 2 people back. But the very, very least you could do is excise the cancer that is pushing this ideology that is killing us.
This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic.
True.
The increase in safety and security has been historic.
True.
But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence...
I mean, this is an obvious act of terror. It's not about the streets of Washington as much as it's about a very obvious ideological movement. Every time I hear Hasan Piker on stream saying, go kill Rick Scott if you hate Medicare fraud, dude, that guy needs to get punished. All right? And it needs to come to the popular people, the public figures that are enacting in direct violations of the law.
Against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. I mentioned the faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr.
Appeals to heaven for our National Guardsmen, for their families, on bended knee as a War Department, as a nation.
Excuse me,
we will never back down.
The fact that he's talking about praying for these people that were just injured and the reporters are just screaming, excuse me, is insane.
What do you think about them right now?
Venezuela.
We had a couple of great, productive meetings with the President and Minister of Defense here, where we are dedicated to the counter-cartel effort here. Criminality knows no boundaries, whether it's the United States of America and Washington, D.C., or it's the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere. We are going to go after narco-terrorists.
Great. That's actually really great. But it's also not enough. You also have to go after the terrorists that are within our country operating, directly inciting violence, endorsing all forms of hate and shit. And I don't mean hate speech. I don't care about hate speech. I care about direct incitement of violence. If you break the law, you have to go to jail. I'm so tired of this two-tier system. It's absolutely insane. I missed 25 cents on my tax return, and I have the IRS shoving a pole up my ass. But these guys are directly inciting people to go murder Americans in public. And for the record, it's happening. It's literally happening in public, and no one does anything about it. Like, come on, dude. Anyway, here's the tragic news that unfortunately these two guardsmen that were shot did pass away.
We have a very unfortunate update now from the governor of West Virginia just in the last couple of moments here. He is confirming that both of the National Guard members that were shot today have passed away, have succumbed to their injuries. And I'm going to read this updated post now from...
He walks in the valley overshadowed by death. Bro, he will fear no evil. This is insane.
The West Virginia governor here. It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries.
So sad.
These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country.
What a nightmare.
We are in ongoing contact with federal officials.
Well, think about how insane this is. More of our military died to gay Antifa terrorists than died in our miniature war with Iran, taking out their nuclear capabilities. Really goes to show where the threat is, you know, in some way. Like, this is crazy.
As the investigation continues, our entire state grieves with their families, their loved ones, and the Guard community. West Virginia will never forget their service or their sacrifice, and we will demand full accountability for this horrific act. We have two...
When I hear accountability, yes, I want the terrorist obviously publicly executed. This needs to be so much bigger than that. It needs to be bigger than that. You have a machine of people, as I'm going to prove to you in just a few minutes, a machine that incites this violence, and then they just get away with it every time to incite more violence. And then it's like, yeah, I get it. The actual assassin is a mentally unwell guy. His parents were inbred, and he has an IQ of 80. And that's why he decided to do it, because of the voices in his head. He's also a transgender furry. And it's like, you know, honestly, I don't care. I really don't care. That guy is obviously a symptom of the disease.
Two families in West Virginia that will not see their children come home ever again because they've been shot by a murderer in the middle of the nation's capital, only a few blocks away from the White House, a city that is supposed to be the safest city in America. And we have now all witnessed together two National Guard troops, two young men or women, we don't know yet, have now lost their lives in the line of duty.
Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. And don't let this anger that you're feeling right now wash away. Okay? Do not let it wash away. All right? This anger, bro, it needs to be used for righteousness. All right? It can't just be, oh, well, at least I got the guy. No. That's not enough. The 2 National Guard soldiers shot near the White House succumbed to their injuries, according to the Virginia governor. What a tragic situation. May they rest in peace. So, breaking news. The White House National Guard shooter was just taken into custody. I'll show you a picture of him later. It's pretty insane. But I have to show you what the media machine's doing. So this is CNN a couple of weeks ago.
Actually, what the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to, quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
It reminds this guy who's been there literally in the 1930s. It reminds him exactly of what's been going on then. Well, now let me ask you, what do you do against the Nazis, right? The undisputed, one of the most evil forces in the history of humanity, all right? This is pretty unanimous. Only a couple of retard fart sniffers on the internet think that, well, actually the Nazis kind of had a point. That's why they decided to genocide millions of people and also completely destroy their own country and the rest of Europe, right? No, I mean, realistically, I think we all pretty much agree Nazis bad. It's a pretty insane take these days especially. But the reality of the matter is, this guy's just saying that this is 1930s Germany. What do you do to not have another 1930s Germany? You have to kill the Nazis. So essentially, this is a dog whistle to kill National Guard. It really is. The National Guard are just like 1930s Germany. Now, this is one of the most diabolical videos ever posted. This is a bunch of elected Democrats talking about how the military, including the National Guard, that is a member of the military, is following unlawful orders, and we need to fight back against them.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
All right, so this government is using the military and sending them against our citizens. Wow, it's a fascist takeover. What do you do when there's a fascist takeover? Well, if there's a fascist takeover, you have to, revolt. You have to rebel, right? You have to kill the fascists before they kill you, right? Again, dog whistling violence against the National Guard. It's every single one of these guys.
Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
Now, just for the record, there were no illegal orders. And they all know this. So they're not saying that Trump's orders were illegal. They're just implying Trump's orders were illegal by saying Trump is getting the National Guard against the citizens and you're not allowed to follow illegal orders. Which again is implying Trump is giving them illegal orders, which they are now following, carrying them out. That's an act of fascism. You have to fight back against the fascist government. And now we have 2 people that were killed. This video was posted less than a week ago. Trump actually responded to this video. I covered this in a previous video on my channel. Definitely subscribe to Nuxanor for all the information. Usually lighthearted. Today, not so much, because this is a tragedy. And I really want it to stop here, even though it probably won't, because we really never seem to learn our lesson and actually go after the big fish, because it's obviously so messy. But I want to see every single person in this video in jail for 10 years. I really do. This is absolutely, undoubtedly seditious behavior, treasonous behavior against the country, right? Implying that Trump's orders to the military are illegal and therefore you have to fight against them. You know who else followed illegal orders? The Nazis. That's why during the Nuremberg trials, the Nazi soldiers that were just following orders were executed. Right? You know why they were executed? Because the orders were illegal. So this video is essentially saying the National Guard needs to be treated like Nazi soldiers if they follow Trump's illegal orders. This is the implication of the video. I really don't see another way to interpret it, but maybe that's just me being retarded. That's my opinion. Thanks for listening. I want to see all these people in jail for 10 years for sedition. That's what I would love to see personally. I would. I'm not implying, I'm not saying that they've committed any crimes. They haven't been tried yet, but that would make me happy. A lot of people are calling for the death penalty. I'll be satisfied with 10 years. That's just me personally. I think that would be a really great place to start. But it gets so much worse. So CNN immediately
now, according to DC Metropolitan Police, immediately
jumps on and decides, yo, let's blame the murder of these 2 National Guard on Trump. I know. You can't make this up.
Metropolitan Police, one suspect is in custody, and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says President Trump, who is currently at Mar-a-Lago, has been briefed. But I want to bring in CNN senior White House correspondent Kristen Holmes, who is live near Mar-a-Lago. Kristen, what are we hearing from the White House?
We just got a comment from President Trump. This is the first time we've heard from the president himself. I've been talking to White House officials who said they're monitoring this closely. They're aware of what's going on, and the president was briefed. This is what he posted just now on Truth Social. The animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded. But regardless, will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people.
Amen.
I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. This clearly gives us more information than we had previously heard. And as I said, President Trump is being briefed on this regularly. He is now saying that of the people shot, 2 of them were National Guard, which we knew. But he has here saying that both of them were critically wounded and are in separate hospital around the D.C. area, and saying that the third person who shot at the National Guardsman is also severely wounded. Part of the reason that they have been tracking this so closely is because President Trump has been really adamant about bringing the National Guard to Washington, D.C.
Oh,
They've been there for months as part of a severe crime crackdown.
Great.
And I do want to note here, any moment we expect to see Vice President J.D. Vance, who was already going to be delivering remarks at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. This was part of a Thanksgiving trip that he was doing to see the troops. And now that President Trump has commented on this, I think it's very likely that the Vice President will also comment on this when he goes up there for those remarks. But clearly here, they are monitoring this very closely. And
yeah, no shit. They murdered 2 of our best. So the reason why Trump is actually focusing on this case is because, well, Trump sent them in. Because it's kind of Trump's fault that these 2 people were murdered. Which it's not, obviously. Of course you send in people because there's unbelievable amounts of crime. It's insane. Now, you have to understand what's been actually going on. A Virginia assistant principal and his brother have been caught plotting to lure and ambush ICE agents, and the Department of Homeland Security is currently investigating it. So this is a countrywide situation. We've had these 2 people killed by a terrorist, but this is the one that got through. I don't think people understand the fact that we are literally having terrorist plots like this foiled daily. I know, it's insane to think about, but it's literally a daily occurrence.
Of a chilling plot to attack ICE, potentially with explosive rounds. The man on the right is John Bennett. He served as an assistant principal at a high school in Virginia Beach.
It's always the high school teachers. It's always like the school teachers. Like, I'm telling you, they get the most radical nutcases of all time, and they're like, you are the one that's going to teach the next generation exactly what right and wrong is. Every single time.
DHS says the case is indicative of the more than 1,100% increase in assaults against ICE agents. Joining us now is ICE Director.
And you don't think that this is cause for national worry? 1,100% increase in assaults against ICE agents? And you don't think this is cause for alarm? You don't think this is cause for like a national crackdown against terrorism? Well, I mean, now we have 2 people murdered. Is now going to be the right time to actually crack down on this stuff?
Todd Lyons Thank you very much.
By the way, this is exactly why I've been so adamant about this the entire time, because it's so obvious that this is where it was all going to end up. Unfortunately, you're going to have to put another penny in the Nux was right again jar. I hate it when it happens, but unfortunately it happens. Yes, I was right again. Yes, if we would have actually followed what I was saying the entire time and, thrown these guys in jail, maybe it would have created some sort of air of not wanting to continue to push endless propaganda to continue trying to kill ICE agents and National Guardsmen, calling them Nazis. It's 1930s Germany when you arrest bad guys.
For joining us. Rather disturbing details that we are learning about that.
Yeah, Sandra, thanks for having me. It's really scary because unfortunately that's the day-to-day lives now of every men and women in ICE, whether it's a special agent, deportation officer, or
it's not just ICE.
Our trial attorneys. We're constantly under a barrage of attack.
Literally, why do we have to live like this? Like, we have a country, we have to enforce the law, and anyone that's inciting this violence or committing this violence needs to go to jail forever. Or maybe not forever, but for a long enough time that they'll never do it again. And realistically, I really don't see another perspective here. Like, what are we supposed to do? We think about this rationally. We're living in a democracy, all right? A constitutional republic, not a democracy. Whatever. Trump was elected overwhelmingly on the mandate to deport illegals. Trump decides, all right, let's deport illegals. He gets ICE to deport illegals. Mayors, governors, congressmen, they're coming together. They're talking about how our agents and soldiers are following illegal orders. They're talking about how we need to push back and fight against ICE agents. They're talking about how we need to protect illegals from ICE. How is that not literally insurrection behavior and treason against the government? Why on earth are we letting these people get away with any of that? The obvious result is going to be some wackadoodle is going to end up assassinating 2 National Guard. Like, it's literally the obvious conclusion here.
And unfortunately, a lot of these attacks are being driven by some crazy rhetoric that are coming out of a lot of elected officials.
Yeah,
it's really sad
you
have, plots like this. You have ramming incidents.
But Hasan Piker says, how do you know it's a leftist? Maybe it was a right-wing guy that killed the 2 National Guard. Oh, don't worry. We're going to see Hasan Piker in a second.
More than 800%. The doxing is just getting unreal. And
insane.
It's really scary times right now.
Yeah, if you dox an ICE agent, I think that's treason. I think you should go to jail forever. Like, what are we doing? We don't need to live like this. If you dox an ICE agent, essentially the reason why you're doing it is you're putting his private info into the public for the sole purpose of the mob going to harass or maybe even kill him. All right, so I don't know why it's not treated that way. It's not. It's like, oopsie, you doxed another ICE agent. That's been happening all the time. No, we don't need to live like this, actually.
For us being out there doing our law enforcement mission every day.
As far as the numbers are concerned, the death threats against ICE officers, the numbers that we're looking at here are staggering. 8,000% increase. So how...
8,000% increase on death threats. Bro, why are we not doing anything about this? Like, it's actually unfathomable.
How do you combat this? And how are ICE officers...
How do you combat this? It's really obvious. You arrest the people that are inciting violence, because they broke the law. Hello?
Officers able to carry out their jobs, or are you going to get to a point where there's such a dip in morale you start to lose some?
Oh my God, is there going to be a dip in morale? Well, there won't be a dip in morale if you arrest the people that are inciting violence. I'll tell you that. So this is Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman. This is her from 1 day ago. Well, let's see what she said.
I'll say it again. Donald Trump's mass deportation system makes me think of what a modern-day slave patrol would look like.
She calls that Trump's law enforcement that's deporting illegal invaders of our country, people that are ruining our nation, all right? I'm not trying to play the hyperbole game, all right? Think about it. If there's too much traffic, well, deporting 20 million illegals would help. I'm just saying. Long line at the emergency room, well, deporting 20 million illegals would help. Our taxes going to fund food stamps for illegals, well, deporting them would help food stamps actually fund people that do need it, actually. Not enough housing? Well, deporting 20 million illegals would help. There is no world where we need to live and destroy ourselves, suicidal empathy, to the point that we need to import the third world to literally outnumber and destroy us from within. Absolute insanity. But anyway, she says that the law enforcement that Trump uses to deport the illegals, which should be deported, as mandated by the American people when they overwhelmingly elected Donald Trump as president, she's calling them slave patrols. Well, what do you do against vagrant wandering slave patrols in your city? You fight back. But obviously, rhetoric like this doesn't even get criticized by the mainstream media, let alone prosecuted.
Slave patrols were armed groups empowered by the government to control, intimidate, and terrorize people solely based on color.
Except that's literally not happening. It's not solely based on color. It's based on legal status in our country. That's what it's based on. So no, has nothing to do with color at all. So therefore, not slave patrols. You're retarded.
That's what's happening now.
No, it's
Donald
not.
Trump is sending mass agents without warrants into communities of color.
There shouldn't be warrants. I'm saying it right here, right now. All right? There's 30 million illegals in our country. That's the estimate. Between 30 and 50 million illegals. You want a warrant for each one individually? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you figure out that they're illegal, you fucking catch them. Then you figure out for certain that they're illegal, and you deport them immediately. That's the due process. Screw warrants. Takes too long. We got to get them out.
To terrorize the people who live.
Warrants are just basically warning people in advance that this is happening. And then you have the judge network that's literally working in tandem with these people. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Snipers with trank guns. All right? That's what Okay, all right, okay, all right.
There. And the reason that I want to make sure that I draw out this link, because we heard Max.
There is no link. But I know why you drew out this link. You drew out this link to basically tell people that there are slave gangs, slave patrols targeting black people. Complete untrue, but she doesn't care. All right, so here's the next one.
What I'm worried about is the reaction and what this transmits to the military and the public, which is basically shut up and listen to that guy. And that's not the way our system works. We have loyalty.
Again, implying that the orders that Trump is giving are illegal, which they're not.
My oath and every oath every member of the military took is loyalty to the Constitution.
The Constitution absolutely allows every single thing that Trump did. He has not given a single illegal order. Okay, there is an illegal Alien Enemies Act that is in play. They can be activated. These people can be deported. You've got to shut the hell up, man. This is crazy. The Insurrection Act is in effect. Trump is allowed to do literally everything he is doing. And you're lying. And you know you're lying. And that's why you don't say. Notice how he's never said Trump gave an illegal order. Notice how he never said that ever. And the reason why is because he would get sued for defamation into oblivion. So all he's saying is vaguely, don't follow illegal orders. Wink, 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 wink. Yeah, don't follow illegal orders, guys.
Not to a person. And he's trying to get some fear out there. And fear can be contagious. Mm-hmm. But what also can be contagious.
I think this guy needs to be in jail for 10 years for sedition. That's my opinion. Without even a shadow of a doubt. Like, it's the easiest open shut case of all time. You're saying that you're telling our military not to follow the commander-in-chief. All right? You're implying that the orders are illegal. You're telling our military not to follow them. And you're also telling the American people that we literally have Nazi soldiers flying around that are not following legal orders. Right? Because that's what the Nuremberg trials was all about, for Nazi soldiers. All right? So this is another Democrat genius, seemingly inciting violence.
We believe that the National Guard and the military occupation is the first step into rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps here in Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C. So he is talking to the people of Washington, D.C., and he's saying, you see those police officers? You see those National Guardsmen that are arresting criminals? This is the first step towards rounding up blacks and throwing them in slave camps. Well, what do you think the response to that is going to be? Like I'm just being realistic. If you're a teenaged black guy that's watching this guy speak, and you're like, holy shit, we're 2 years away from the white man throwing nets at us and throwing us in infinite slave camps. Oh my God, we got to do something about this. Like, you don't think this can incite violence?
And around the United States of America. We believe that.
For the record, none of this is true. That's why it's important. So Democrat leaders and activists claim that the National Guard is rounding black people up and putting them in detainment camps. This is a liar, a straight up liar. And this was just posted. This is literally from just now. So this was said right before 2 National Guard were killed in this same city. This is in Washington. Absolutely unreal. All right, this is the Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson leading a protest against the National Guard. All right, no soldiers in our streets. No troops in Chicago, implying that somehow we have to fight to get them out. I mean, they're armed. What do we do? Again, so this is literally the mayor running no troops in Chicago when it's perfectly legal for the president to put troops in Chicago. Again, I think this guy needs to get arrested. The mayor. Yes, the mayor. But oh my God, this is lawfare. Sorry, you tried to arrest Trump for 800 years. You tried to put him in jail forever. I don't care. I do not care. My caring is gone to zero. Zero caring left. I'm sorry. Suck something else. All right, so this is a former National Guard 2 months ago. Saying some of the most insane things you'd ever hear.
Control, the president would be the commander-in-chief, but it would be Congress that would authorize, that would fund the military. It would be Congress that could declare war. And the entire concern that the founding fathers at that time had, and I mean, the delegates, it was debated, the Bill of Rights actually came about, the Second and Third Amendment, it was all connected to this. And the concern that they had was the ability for the military to be used as this tool of one person. And today, from what I heard from Secretary Hegseth and what I heard from the president, I feel like we are very far afield from where the founding fathers of this country wanted us to be.
For the record, I doubt it.
I think you're absolutely right about that.
I don't think you're right.
You know, the words that Donald Trump used today.
What were the words?
Enemy from within.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Hitler-esque.
All right, so Trump saying we should arrest criminals in our countries, which is based as fuck, is Hitler-esque. Well, what do you do against Hitler-esque troops that are fighting the enemy from within? For the record, you, maybe not you personally, even though I think you are, there are enemies from within. In fact, one of them just killed 2 National Guard. This is an Oregon Congresswoman, Maxine Dexter. This is her saying that the National Guard coming to cities is tyrannical.
Maxine Dexter, Oregon's 3rd, checking in after...
I love how she has to say her name because literally no one knows who you are.
What I would say is an indefensible ruling by the Ninth Circuit that opens the door to National Guard troops being deployed.
I love how everyone hates the idea of arresting criminals. Like, everyone on the Democrat side hates arresting criminals because they're their voters. It's like, oh my God, you're literally arresting our voters. Yep. Yes, we know.
In our peaceful city. Let's just be clear.
If it's a peaceful city, you probably wouldn't mind a couple of National Guard rolling in just to make sure. It's not like they're going to do anything not peaceful.
Portland is not lawless. We have been extraordinary.
I saw Portland, okay? I've seen direct footage on the ground from Portland. Portland was a nightmare.
In our resistance to Donald Trump's fairy tale.
Why are you resisting Donald Trump? He's the president of the United States, elected by the people. You're resisting the democratically elected president of the United States? It's pretty weird.
About our city. We have...
by the way, for the record, January 6th was a protest against the Biden administration coming in. They all got arrested. They were charged with, like, terrorism and shit. Other than that, there was no resistance against Biden. Because, I mean, it seems like he might have even won the election in 2020.
Remained peaceful, persistent, and clear that we do not bend the knee to Donald Trump and his...
You don't bend the knee to the democratically elected president of the United States? Isn't this treason? Like, isn't this at the very least insurrection? What do you mean you don't bend the knee? Like, what?
His wannabe kingmanship, and we will continue to be so. This ruling must be challenged, and we must remain steadfast in our peaceful resistance to Donald.
Peaceful resistance just killed 2 National Guard.
Trump, the tyranny he is trying to take onto our cities. And
right, so deploying the National Guard is the tyranny taking onto our cities. What do you do against tyranny taking onto our cities? Unfortunately, you kill them. And that's the game that every single one of these people plays. All right, so here's Fat Slob Pritzker.
Other than fighting crime. That's the first thing they should understand. The second is it's an attack on the American people.
Yeah, so getting the military to arrest violent criminals is an attack on the American people.
By the President of the United States. Now, he may disagree with a state that didn't vote for him, but...
I think he disagrees with rapists and murderers wandering the streets and not going to jail. I think that's something he disagrees with personally.
Should he be sending troops in? No.
You said he has other aims. What are the other aims?
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections.
So he's sending in the National Guard to the cities to stop all future elections and control infinite elections moving on. The era of Trump begins now and will never end. Trump 2028, 2032, 2036, 2040, infinite Trump, cryo Trump. Every 4 years, you freeze him, you thaw him, more Trump. And that's why he's sending the National Guard into the cities. What do you do against someone that is literally trying to deploy the National Guard to force infinite elections to always be illegally won by him? What do you do against that? Well, you have to fight back, right? You need armed resistance against something like that, right? Realistically, if you're sending in the military to steal the country, which is what this fatso is implying, all right, Schnordless over here is implying that Trump is doing his absolute best to steal the country. What do you do? What do you do against something like that? Like, the National Guard are coming in, and that will cause infinite Trump. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you have to fight armed, right? Armed resistance is the only way to stop something like that. And again, we saw today 2 people killed. It's absolute insanity to see this. So Alyssa Slotkin, one of the 6 people in that seditious video, where you know, they went out and they said that you don't have to follow illegal orders. Well, let's see what she said here, because they did it as a gigantic propaganda campaign to boost their ratings. Look at them fighting against Trump and his illegal orders.
Videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that
hundreds of people were killed in Chicago over the last year. Murdered. Hundreds of murders took place in Chicago. And people are like, why does Trump want to get the National Guard to go to Chicago? I mean, yeah, there were hundreds of murders, but like, please. It was consensual murders because they chose to live in Chicago.
We're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
What? So she's saying that, okay, so now that there's law enforcement there, they're going to get stressed and just start killing Americans. They're just going to go Rambo style on random Americans. We have to look out for that because we're just one bad day away from the military to just crash out and start mowing down Americans. What do you do against that? That's my question to every single one of these people that gives these open-ended statements on the media, right? You get Democrat congresswomen, congressmen, mayors, governors. They show up on the media and they make a statement. But what do you do against that? They never explain what you actually have to do to stop this incredible evil reality that they're describing from happening. Obviously, they're not explaining it because, in my opinion, they want to kill you. And they want people to kill you. So if they frighten them enough and they say that, yeah, the military is just going to show up and start shooting random Americans, maybe you'll fight back.
It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, look at these videos.
Please, get out of here, bitch, ho. Get out of here. Make your husband a sandwich. What are you doing here?
Enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is very...
Yeah, don't worry, guys. The law enforcement, we feel bad for them. They might get stressed and just start shooting random civilians. What are you going to do about that? Well, we know. So this is the alleged picture of the shooter that killed the 2 soldiers at Washington, D.C. Look, man, I am not one to say what religion this man is part of. I will leave that to my audience. Bet you $5 on Polychart that this dude said Allahu Akbar before he shot those guys, though. Anyway, not trying to be racist, just statistics, you know. You know, all right. Zoran Mamdani, I hope your aunt's ears are closed. So this is in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Did you go airborne just to pull security for ICE? So these are just signs being put up, billboards everywhere, tied to George Soros, allegedly. This country is in the middle of a Marxist revolution, and right now the left is on a full court press, going to work on the military, sowing seeds of dissection, chaos, and confusion. And apparently, if you actually do a little bit of a deep dive, a little teeny weeny itty bitty bit of a deep dive into this website, it's one of the scariest things you'll ever see in your life. This is the website, this nowayousignedupfor.org. You saw the billboard. You have questions. You're not alone. But first, here's the proactive takes you could do to reduce risk. Be sure to access resources from a personal device, not a military or government computer. Use an encrypted email. Use the Signal. Use a VPN. This is super illegal, man. What are we even doing? Like, these are actual Marxist, communist propaganda pushing people to perform some sort of communist revolution on the country because fascism is here or something. So no planes are taking off at Reagan Washington National Airport right now due to the security concerns. Obviously, there was a terrorist attack on the ground. Now, the crazy thing is, you have people actually getting charged. You know how I keep saying I want to see people getting charged? Well, people are, just not nearly enough. So this is someone from the Department of Justice who was charged for terrorism.
First at 5, a federal employee charged with terrorism. She is accused of sharing the name of a federal agent with someone who made a threat against them.
So this is a case of an employee at the Department of Justice that saw a death threat against an ICE agent. So you know what this person did? This white liberal Karen, like they always are, she gave the personal information of the guy that was threatened to the person that made the death threat. These people are working in the Department of Justice, so of course they have access to all the death threats. They see all the death threats. So what this person did was, she went to the person that made the death threat and gave them the private info of the person that they threatened. And I'm sure that this was not an isolated case. It was just someone that got caught.
Thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Christine Galvan. Javi is off today. We learned of Karen De Leon's arrest.
Her literal name is Karen. You can't make this up. Oh my God, dude. God has irony. I'm telling you, man. God has a divine irony to him.
Just within the last 20 minutes, the Cameron County DA's office says she revealed the agent's name on a social media live stream. The stream was part of a federal law enforcement operation in June.
Crazy.
Another man reportedly made a death threat toward one of the agents in the live stream. That is who she allegedly gave the agent's name to.
Is that
the
not
DA's
insane?
office says De Leon is an employee at the United States Attorney's Office in Brownsville. She is charged with terrorism and tampering with evidence.
Good. Now do this to all the guys that are fighting against ICE agents. Every single mayor that says you have to fight against ICE, charge them with terrorism too. Based. Hell yes. More of this, please. More of this, please. All right, so this is ABC News seemingly trying to justify the murder of the National Guardsman because you don't hate the media enough.
Or a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement, government officials, people in uniform, have increasingly been targets, and that is going to be one focus of the investigation going forward, Kira.
You think that 2 National Guard were murdered in Washington, D.C. because of the Israel-Gaza conflict? Like, what are we doing? It's the most obvious thing in the history of the world. Like, dude, I could figure out the motivation on this one pretty freaking easily. Are you kidding me, man? Like, what planet are you living on? This really is clown world. It's actual clown world. So ABC's like, well, I mean, Israel did kill a lot of terrorists, so it does make sense that someone wants to kill National Guard in Washington, D.C. What? And these are really the audience that you're pandering to? You're pandering to the people that think it's legitimate to kill soldiers as an act of terror because of some nebulous political geopolitics situation that you disagree with? What even is this? Like, this is the worst thing I've ever, like, this is the worst thing of all time. So this is Psaki on the news. All right, you might remember her from Biden's administration, saying possibly one of the worst things ever.
What do you think, as a lawyer, what do you think the consequences should be for people who are abiding by following these steps from the commander-in-chief when they seem to be complete overreaches of power?
Look how she keeps saying they seem to be overreaches of power, because she's scared, scared to death that she's going to get sued into oblivion. Because the answer is they're not overreaches of power. So she says seem to be because you can get away from the lawsuit. That's why you have me, blue retard on the internet, to translate retards on the internet. That's why I exist, or definitely subscribe. But that's why she says it seems to be an overreach of power. Not that it is one, because I don't want to get sued, and obviously there isn't one, and I know that I'm lying, and I know that I'm manipulating people. But the average boomer that's actually still watching MSNBC literally will not pick up on these nuances. So essentially, they'll think I'm saying that Trump is a fascist dictator, when in reality what I'm saying is it only seems like he's a fascist dictator, and I know that he's not. So what would be the punishments for the soldiers that follow Trump's orders? That's what she's saying. So the framing is there are Nazi soldiers in our country. That's obviously the framing. There's Nazi soldiers.
They're following unlawful commands from Donald Trump.
They're not. There are no unlawful commands. Hit this guy with defamation ASAP. That's what the government literally needs to do. We have a rule of law in our country. It needs to be applied literally to the letter of the law against people that are, quite frankly, insurrecting against the government.
And if you're committing offenses and your defense is going to be, I was just following orders. That didn't work out so well at Nuremberg.
So the Nuremberg trials are where they executed a bunch of Nazis, and the Nazis were like, well, we were just following Hitler's orders. And they were like, no, actually, we don't really care that Hitler gave you the order to kill 6 million Jews or whatever. So yeah, we actually don't care about that. That's actually not a very nice thing to do. And then they executed them regardless because the orders don't count. That's the Nuremberg trials, for those of you that are unaware. So I'm really glad he mentioned that specifically, because now we can really tie the dots together. We can really draw a little picture of a dinosaur. We could draw a little picture. You put all the dots together, and it really comes up with something kind of diabolical, actually. The obvious dots here are to say the soldiers in our country are Nazis, and we need to do whatever it needs to be done to fight against those Nazi soldiers that are claiming they're just following orders. But we remember what happened at the Nuremberg trials. It's like, bro, this is this guy coming up with a conclusion to his thesis. Okay, so here you have the dots. All right, let me make this actually work. All right. So here you have the dots. All right, now you have to tell me what you think this makes. I'm going to connect the dots in just a second. I'm going to connect the dots, and you're going to see what the actual picture that we're drawing here is. All right, so these are the dots. All right, you tell me. All right, you probably think it looks a little like a smiley face, maybe even. All right, so now we're going to connect the dots. We're going to connect the dots for a second. Are you ready to connect the dots? All right, so we're going to connect the dots, and we're going to see what picture we get. All right, we're on the same page. We all see the same thing? Yeah. So this is just me connecting the dots, trying to figure out exactly what Trump's fascist soldiers are up to. All right, I'm really glad we were able to do this exercise together.
Certainly didn't work out so well for Lieutenant Calley when he, engaged in mass murder, the My Lai massacre. And, Pete Hegseth just doing whatever Donald Trump tells him to do, like initiating a criminal investigation that could result in a court-martial of Senator Kelly.
Are you not allowed to investigate senators if they commit acts of treason or something? Like, is that what he's implying here?
For simply stating accurately what the military law provides, or...
He's just simply stating that you shouldn't follow illegal orders. He's just simply stating it in a vacuum, not at all implying that the military should disobey the president of the United States and imply that the orders are illegal. No, absolutely not. He was just stating a thing. That was... Dude, get out of here, man.
Kash Patel's FBI.
For the record, it's completely legal to investigate people. All right, they didn't throw him in jail. They didn't execute him. All right, they didn't publicly guillotine that bastard. All right, they're investigating him. What's wrong with investigating people? Anyway, obviously, these people are the actual fascists in the country, in my opinion, and they're really unhappy that Donald Trump was the elected president of the United States. And I'm just telling you right now, the next Democrat that comes into power, they're gonna try to put Hegseth in jail forever. He's definitely on the list. They're gonna say, well, you were a Nazi soldier following illegal orders, and they're gonna get some woke judges to hobble some shit together, and they're gonna try to ruin his life. We're really fighting we're like at the brink of civilization collapse. It's absolute insanity, man.
By opening criminal probes of members of Congress.
Why are you not allowed to open up criminal probes into members of Congress? I thought no one was above the law. That's what you told me when you invented rape victims that Trump allegedly raped.
For speaking the truth, you know, that is something that will someday, when the rule of law comes back into the light of day.
He's just literally saying it.
Will have to be tackled. They'll have to be held accountable.
He's literally saying that next time we come into power, we are going to destroy jail and obliterate every single person that actually investigated us ever. And that's why Trump really needs to absolutely go insanely hard right now. Insanely hard. Because when the tide turns, it's going to be insane. So this is Ken Delanian right after the shooting on MS Now. Let's see what they had to say. Their coverage. It's even worse than what you've seen until now, for the record.
But of course, you know, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing.
Oh my God, there's controversy because ICE is doing their job, and you have insurrectionists and terrorists that are fighting with them. So that's pretty controversial. And they also wear uniforms, just like the National Guard.
Masks, and so there's, you don't know, people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that, and so apparently this shooting has happened.
So let's get this straight. Let's get this straight, sir. Because there's controversy around ICE, and ICE wears uniforms, even though ICE never wears uniforms, and they wear masks and no uniforms. But since ICE is controversial, and they do wear uniforms, therefore, it's totally understandable for good God-fearing American citizens to just start murdering National Guard in the streets of Washington, D.C., right? Is that the implication here? The answer is yes. That was a rhetorical question. The implication here is that, well, you know, ICE is controversial. They wear uniforms. National Guard also wear uniforms. You can't really blame Americans for murdering them in the streets. What the fuck? This person, again, once again, get rid of this guy. Throw him in a hole. Like, what are we doing, bro? Breaking. An image of one of the guardsmen. What a nightmare. What a nightmare. Oh, my God. So this is Aaron Katursky speculating on the motive of the shooting, right? This is ABC News. Another always be lying. ABC stands for always be lying.
Or a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted.
I already covered this one. My bad. This is where they blamed Hamas. They're like, oh yeah, they obviously killed American soldiers because of what's happening in Israel. Like, dude, this is actually retarded. So Hakeem Jeffries, someone that's been rabidly anti-ICE constantly, praying for the National Guard members wounded in this horrific shooting, thankful to all the brave law enforcement officers and first responders. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this tweet in a vacuum, but as you can see, he's getting ratio to hell because, first of all, people on the right don't actually want to hear his sympathy after he's been fanning the flames, and people on the left are mad because, well, I'll be honest with you, a large subset on the left fully supports the murder of National Guards. This was Jack Poso, a friend of Charlie Kirk on CNN just like a week ago, saying we are facing asymmetric warfare. Yeah, true. We are facing asymmetric warfare. We want to deport illegals that are invading our country and harming our country by leaps and bounds, and they want us dead. Yep, asymmetric. Sounds pretty asymmetric to me. It's both sides, guys. It's both sides. So even one of the Fox News hosts made one of the possibly worst takes of all time. It's insane. The obvious take is you shouldn't be killing National Guards, and the reason why it's happening is because we have this atmosphere that is completely asinine. Well, anyway.
Remember, the National Guard was deployed to Washington, D.C. by the president. They were not asked for by the mayor, but the president decided that there was so much crime in D.C. that he needed to send in the National Guard. So it's been a very costly mission since August 15th when they were deployed to the nation's capital. It's cost about $68 million to keep them here since mid-August.
Yeah, but crime went down by 98%.
that they have been put into a kind of law enforcement position, even though they had hoped that they would, we've seen the scenes since mid-August, Aisha, of them cleaning up trash, of helping, basically helping just provide sort of a sense of security here in the Capitol. It's really quite shocking, especially when you remember the president said that crime was really down in D.C. and that there were no shootings anymore.
True.
This is a real wake-up call on the eve of Thanksgiving.
It's a wake-up call that the president was wrong and there is still crime. So, haha, gotcha, president. Yeah, 2 National Guards were killed. So, you were wrong when you said the crime was down because of the National Guard, because they killed 2 National Guard. The president sent there, not that the people wanted them. Dude, absolute fucking insanity. How are we even living here? How are we in the same country as these people? These people are insane. They're crazy. So this is Harry Pissin, everyone's favorite leftoid, complete and utter freak. All right, as expected, MAGA's already spreading conspiracy theories and blaming Democrats for the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen in D.C. today. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's really obvious that whoever killed these National Guardsmen is a leftoid freak. All right, it's either a far-left retard communist or it's an Islamist. Because realistically, you do not see a lot of patriotic white Americans or, Hasidic Jews or Zionists doing stuff like this. Like, realistically, I'm not trying to be rude here or anything, but it literally is a leftoid or a radical Islamist, which should be in the leftoid category because you guys voted to import them. So, realistically, that's where we're at. We know nothing about the situation or the shooter and they're politicizing it. Gross. Yeah, gross. Absolutely gross that we're politicizing the fact that 2 people that were there were killed after literally everyone in the Democratic Party got together to call them Nazis. Wow. I can't believe we're literally jumping the gun here by blaming the leftoids. 2 National Guardsmen that shouldn't have been there were shot near the White House. Well, what's this implying? What are we even implying here? This is disgusting. It's crazy. They'd still be alive today if Donald Trump didn't play politics with their lives. They put their lives on the line to fight for their country. They fought for our country. They died fighting for our country. They're heroes. What does this even mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, are you implying that every single person that dies in the military deserved to die because they joined the military and someone played politics with their lives? Like, dude, these people were heroes. This is the most insane thing ever. But again, this is the leftoids. This is the leftoids every time. So here's another one. Don't worry, they're already making TikToks. Already making TikToks talking about how exciting it is that that National Guardsmen are getting killed.
So fucking insane. I can't stop shaking. I could really go for like a Dr. Pepper and some Taku.
So yeah, 2 DC National Guards getting kirked. Right? Again, kirked has become a verb among the leftoids for killed because they successfully killed a right-wing guy. Successfully killed a really, really good person in front of his family. And realistically, the repercussions to this was a MAGA civil war where MAGA people were fighting to basically fill the slot that he left empty, which no one will fill realistically, which is why it's so frustrating watching people fight over it. And it's honestly disgusting. So essentially, killing Charlie Kirk was incredibly effective for the leftists. It really was. They all celebrated his death. They're super happy that he was killed. And realistically, yes, I think it brought a lot of people to God. But politically, it definitely divided the right a lot more. He was a unifying force. It really was. Politically, the right is more divided. Even though religiously, I think the country does find itself in a better place. But they don't care because they hate God. These niggas out here snitching. When you spent all day on Twitter when Charlie Kirk got murked, and now you're trying to catch up on TikTok to see the bangers you could have made. Right, so that's this guy. And there's tons of these people, for the record. There's tons of them. You know, they go out there, they're making infinite TikToks, epic memes. Let's go. They kirked a couple of National Guards. Again, I'm not interested in unifying with these people. But Trump is being so divisive with his rhetoric. Good. Divide the fuck out of these people. Absolutely. Put them on the other side of the Red Sea. All right? When the Red Sea splits, I want to be on one side. I want these guys on the other side. All right? Absolutely. Thank you for your divisiveness, Mr. President. You're making it really clear who these people are. All right? My bar is pretty low, okay? You need to follow the 10 commandments. My bar is pretty low. All right, maybe not even all 10. All right, realistically, the 7 Noahide laws. All right, don't blaspheme God. Don't worship idols. Don't murder. Don't steal. Don't eat animals while they're still alive. Don't be a sexually immoral degenerate, and obey the law. Those 7 laws are the 7 Noahide laws. You follow those, we will have no issues. You literally failed at don't murder. That's how bad it is, man. So this is Hasan Piker. We don't know any of the details of this incident. And the MAGA Twitter has already blamed Democrats for telling the military to not follow unlawful orders, which is the law. Again, dude, this is treasonous. At best, it's slightly treasonous. Torturing your dog is also against the law, based. Yeah, true, actually. Benny Johnson was completely correct about this one. But yeah, no, that's where we're at. Welcome to modern day society. You'll have dog torturing terrorist alleged pedophiles like Hasan Piker, literally going out, doing his thing, no issue, absolutely no problems with this absolute freak. This dude's living his best life, not being investigated probably by the government properly, not getting arrested for inciting violence against all sorts of people, and continuously spreading misinformation. Why are you blaming the left for the murder of these 2 National Guards, even though they were literally vilified by the left for the last 6 months? And also, the left is celebrating the murders of these 2 National Guards. Why would you blame the left when literally there's no evidence of anything? Even when there is evidence, they won't care. Now, Hasan Piker recently did an interview with Trigonometry, and this clip is absolutely diabolical, right? They asked him about fascism. He said fascism is bad. He said all fascism comes from capitalism. So they asked him, what is a communist system that you actually do like?
Is there a country that's done socialism the way that you like?
I would say that I am hypercritical of all forms of governance, including the American one. I think that's not a surprise to you guys, right? And in that same vein, I think like there is critiques to apply to all forms of governance, even socialist ones. Yeah. And as far as like getting closer to what I think has been relatively successful, because if ultimately the point of government is to improve the material conditions of all people to the best of your ability, it's not always going to be perfect, but when you are getting, I don't know, the poorest people, the poorest of the dispossessed masses out of a situation where they were servile, the landed gentry, or they were peasants from an agrarian society, or they were dominated by the landlords, but then ultimately they were able to come into modernity and become like a powerhouse, an industrial powerhouse that is competitive with the largest superpower on the planet. I would say if that's the point of good governance, and I think you guys might agree with me on that, I would say China is probably the closest. And
he is literally a propagandist for an adversary of the United States, and it's not even a question. Yeah, so he's like, well, I really hate capitalism because capitalism leads to fascism, but I love China. China is fascist, like, because the reality is, even though Hasan Piker obviously doesn't know anything about history, the reality is it's communism that leads to fascism every time, literally every time. Because how do you govern a system that's completely equal, right? If everything is completely equal in a system, then, which is the communist utopia, right? Everyone owns the same shit, everyone makes the same money. It's retarded on every level, on every human level, all right? No one's gonna want to work if you get equal shit to the guy that doesn't work, right? Dude plays video games all day, gets a paycheck of $100K a year. Why would you work your ass off as an electrician or a plumber or a garbage collector for $100K a year? Like, right? It makes no sense. It doesn't work on a human level, right? But who governs a society like this if everyone's equal? Well, you need an upper class. You need a fascist. You need a fascist dictator to actually sit at the very, 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 very top of this oligopolist, infinite communist shithole. Communism inevitably leads to fascism because you want to take stuff from the people that earn it. All right? So inherently communism will always inevitably end up fascist. And so this guy, without a shadow of a doubt, without any hesitation, mentions immediately that China is actually the utopia. It's the best country out there. This dude is an actual propagandist for an adversary of the United States, directly glazing a fascist country, which China actually is, because they'll send the secret police out to monitor people's conversations and jail them. And literally, dude, I don't know if any of you know the story of Jack Ma. Jack Ma was like, he started AliExpress, I think, Alibaba or something like that. I think maybe it's Alibaba, the Amazon of China. He became a billionaire. He criticized the Chinese state. He disappeared for 6 months. He came back into the public, not worth his billions anymore. A huge fan of the Chinese state because they re-educated him. Again, dude, China is an actual fascist state. They literally have children in sweatshops in China, but he is so happy and quick to glaze them. So China, secret police, good. Trump arresting criminals, fascist Nazis, we should kill them. Make it make sense.
China is probably the closest, and there are still plenty of failures within the Chinese system as well, plenty of issues within the Chinese system as well. But that's probably the closest, I would say, to an example that we should follow and lessons that we should learn from. This is something that I talk about quite a bit.
Hasan, if you spoke about China the way you spoke about America, if you as a Chinese person spoke about China the way you as an American speaks about America, they would kill you. Like, no doubt in my mind, they would kill you. And he admitted that.
Ironically enough, we only utilize some of the most
He comes across so stupid here.
elements of Chinese governance here in the United States of America, especially in the second Trump administration, and none of the good stuff. We don't have any high-speed rail. We don't have any even development. There is seemingly nothing to look forward to in America in terms of economic prosperity.
Okay, leave. Literally leave. Also, this is retarded. In a capitalist society, it's the only society that you could look forward to financial prosperity. You can't look forward to financial prosperity in a communist society because they will squash down any person that's even remotely successful, squash them into the herd of lazy, unsuccessful people that refuse to work.
In terms of overall health of society, in terms of scientific achievements. I think a lot of younger people also feel the same way, where they feel like
they're retarded and we're brainwashed in college to believe that communism is actually good, and we need an armed resistance against the police state that Trump is enacting. So anyway, this interview gets absolutely obliterated by trigonometry. I might cover it in the future, but I saw a couple of clips of it. Bro got absolutely manhandled. For the record, a trigonometry host actually reached out to me before this interview with Hasan Piker to ask me for all the dirt, and I gave him all the info about this guy, and they're like, and let's just say it changed their tune on this guy, I think, a little bit, maybe before the actual interview. So that was exciting. But realistically, that's where we're standing in today's America. The actual inciters of the terrorism, the actual seditious people, they don't get punished nearly hard enough. They need a 10-year sentence for people that commit sedition or treason or insurrection against the government. And quite frankly, I know it's sad to say this, but these two National Guards that were killed in a terrorist attack today were the first National Guards that were killed in this neo-Marxist, Islamist, jihadist uprising that we're seeing in America. I want to be wrong. I hope that we don't come back to this moment and put another penny in the Nux was right again jar. Well, sorry for the relatively darker video. I just thought it was super important to make and talk about all the people that are inciting this violence. In my opinion, inciting this violence and inciting insurrection. But my opinion is people that say things like this.
That didn't vote for him. But should he be sending troops in? No.
You said he has other aims.
Right.
What are the other aims?
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections.
So what do you do against something like that? The only reasonable answer that any person can actually come up with is to get violent.